Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Divine Attributes, Part 7, more divine attributes, and we are covering two, Al-Khaliq and Al-Aleem. And these are the references, and this is our contact in case there is any query regarding this presentation or any of our past presentation, and we can always use this contact. Divine attributes, listing the main ones. This is just the list which I have shared in our previous presentations as well, just to update where we are. And we have covered Rabbul Alameen, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Malik, Youmd, and Al-Aziz. And today we will cover Al-Khaliq, Al-Aleem. Now the next slide is next attribute for our discussion, Al-Khaliq. Creation, that is Takhliq, is a divine attribute, and as man continues to imbibe this attribute within himself, he keeps rising above the animalistic level. Animals don't create. We can say that they have instincts and through which they do some kind of activity. But behind their whatever they are doing instinctively, which is placed within them by nature, they do not think, they don't have choice and intent. Whereas human beings, despite possessing a physical body, we can make decisions and we have an ability to create from the material which is already provided by Allah on this planet Earth. So we are meant to create. It is not that it is something which we can avoid creating. Everyone, more or less at their own level, do create something as they live through this life. It should also be kept in mind that in creation there is not merely duplication, i.e. keep making one thing repeatedly, there are also new additions in it. This is why it is stated about Allah, yuzidu fil khalqi ma yasha'u. He adds to his creation as per his mashiyat, that is according to his law. So whatever Allah has created, there are laws working behind it, and whatever new creations will come before us or before the future generations, those will also follow Allah's laws. And this universe is so big that we do not know its limits. And there are also theories which say that there are universes. So whatever the situation is for us on this planet Earth, it is enough to know that Allah is continuously creating. This is why the act of creation by human beings should also be on this pattern. So that is why we have been given enough material and a very strong intellect and emotive power to create during our finite life on this planet Earth, individually as well as collectively. We are only restricted by the opportunities provided by the system and at times within the system by our own willpower. For Allah, the word Khaliq, creator, has also appeared in the meaning of Fatir. And this is something important. That is, he is a creator from nothingness, i.e. bringing the universe into existence from nothing. So that is something which is only attributed to Allah. Human beings do create, but we create from things already created, whereas Allah has created everything from nothing. And this is something very difficult to conceive as a finite beings, but we should keep in mind that there was a time, as far as this visible universe is concerned, there was no universe and Allah created it from nothing. In the meaning of Khaliq is the creator of more things through various combinations from the created things. When it is stated in the Quran that there is no Khaliq, that is creator other than him, or that the batil deities of people cannot create anything, there the term Fatir should be assumed. So that is important because Allah is Ahsanul Khaliqeen, and we'll touch upon that later on. It should be kept in mind that Allah is Fatir as Khaliq. It is important to keep this distinction in mind. And this distinction is important because as we go through the Quran, the thoughts do come to our mind that when Quran says that there is no one else is a creator, then what does it mean? Man is created with certain potentials. Quran says, خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بِالْحَقِّ وَصَوَّرَكُمْ asana suwarakum wa alayhil masir. He's created the highs and lows of the universe as Haqq and has given you shape and made your shapes balanced. To him is your return. And we can look at this verse as well, 95:4, where Quran says, Laqad khalaqna al-insana fi ahsani taqweem. And we have covered this surah in the past. So important thing is that there is a purpose behind our creation, and if we do not see any purpose, then we should make an effort to find it out. Pointing to an important aspect of human creation. Ya ayyuhan nasu abudu rabbakum allazi khalaqakum wallazina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. I've highlighted 3 points over here. Abudu khalaqakum tattaqun. Hence, O members of humanity, you should not be deceived by the glittering, illusory, self-created system of these nations. You should bring yourselves within the laws of your Rabb. Abadu means this, that Rabb who created you and your forefathers and who, despite so many destructive forces of the universe, brought the human race to this stage by causing it to pass through various phases. And this verse 172 is very interesting in this respect. This is the only technique as a result of which you will remain protected from the dangers of the path of life, and that is the taqoon. And we can see that the verse is addressed to whole of mankind. It is kum and starts with Ya Ayyuhan Nasu. So there is a lot in it to think about it, and I think we have already covered it under Surah Al-Baqarah. For an explanation of Abadu, the root is here, which has appeared in this verse. See details under verse 1:5, that is under Surah Al-Fatiha, and we have covered it in detail. Next slide is expanding the term Khalq, which is translated as creation. The root of Khalqun is this one. The fundamental meaning of this is to measure with a view to making something, cutting it, estimating it, assessing its proportion and balance, making one thing from another thing. Very wider meanings of this root. Hence, Khalqun will mean to estimate something, to trim and refine its outline, and then to make it with style and form so that its proportion and balance remain absolutely precise. In other words, by giving ever new combinations to different elements to keep creating new things from them. So our job is that we should, whatever we are doing, we should keep looking for innovation in our life to see how things are done around us, for example, within the home or wherever we are working within our business. Whatever we witness in the world created by man is the outcome of the cognitive potentials of man bestowed by Allah, and it is free. Hence, creation is expected from man in the world. This, the act of creation, which makes man superior to animals and makes him the companion of Allah. Animals only procreate, whereas man, on the one hand, procreates, that is the biological side, because we follow a procedure, whichever has been placed within each one of us as human beings, as physical beings. On the other hand, engages in the creative act. In Allah, there is only creative act. Hence, the man who does not have the ability to create, i.e., he cannot bring his latent potentials into action, lives at the animalistic level. And there's another point over here is that whatever we do in the light of the, for example, the Quran, that becomes part of ourself. On the biological side, we act like, because the children come into this life, but they have come into this life biologically, but as human beings, now we have to help them to create their own self, to create their own character, to bring out their best. So that is a huge creative process about which we should be aware of, and we will talk about it a bit later. From this, we can figure out the importance of the Quran and the need for the establishment of the system of Deen. Because creative process which is taking place in the world of 2025 is based on this assumption that human life ends with death. That is why there is so much emphasis on the material side. But once the system of Deen is established, then human cognitive potentials will come out in the light of the Quran. Allah has called himself Ahsanul Khaliqeen, the best of all those who create. So that means human beings are accepted as creators according to this verse. And we see evidence of that. The world of 2025 is created by man by his unbridled intellect. Now next is some reflections on the domain of Amr. We have gone through this aspect previously as well. In Surah Al-Araf it is stated, is it not that Khalq and Amr belong to Allah? Be aware that Khalq and Amr are both for Allah. No other is a partner with him in these. These are what are commonly called the domain of Amr and the domain of Khalq. Because before the creation, there is a domain of Amr where Allah carries out his own planning. He carries out his own thinking. We don't have to say that he thinks like human beings, but in relation to our own cognitive process, we can say that is the place where Allah makes a decision that which laws are going to be applicable to which planet or which creation. The word al-amratu was used for the path in a desert that was flagged by placing small stones along it. From this respect, its basic meanings are sign, marker, or direction. This word is also used with numerous other meanings, but here we will confine ourselves to only these meanings. It is clear that when some manufacturer forms the intention to make something, then first of all, a concept or idea about it emerges in his mind. And this is the way human mind works. We know it, that people plan, people think about it, an idea comes to their mind, then they develop it further. And there are books written on this aspect. Then he thinks and reflects about its different aspects. He envisages the possibility of its creation and constitution. And when he has ascertained all these matters theoretically, then he takes a step to make this thing in a tangible form. In the creative program of Allah, this first stage is called the domain of Amr. And over here, we have gone through it previously as well, that in the domain of Amr, we know that this law was created. For example, the water will flow downwards. Water will turn into steam if it is given certain amount of heat. And this is a law, but we do not know why did Allah make water like that. So the reason for creating those laws we do not know, but the functioning of those laws we can understand with the intellect provided to us. In this, all matters related to the thing which is going to become created are decided conceptually. And even we can say that why are we created with this body and not something different? And we have seen that human beings have tried to make some films, pictures, where they have tried to create something different from this body and they have miserably failed. You can call this the planning stage. But in the creative program, this stage is so important and intrinsic that without it, nothing can be brought into existence. And if this stage is established with certainty, then it is as if that thing has come into existence. For the expression of this fact, these kinds of verses appear in various places in the Quran. When he makes a decision about an Amr, then he says to this Amr, be, and then it becomes. And this is something very important to understand for us, that in the case of Allah, thought and action are one. That is why Quran asks us as well that you raise your level of self-development to that level where you know that what you intend doing, it should be put in place and you should be fully committed to it. And this is what Quran is asking, that if you have decided to become the companion of Allah, then commit to it 100% after rationally thinking through all the issues related to it and convince yourself that this is the path for me. Ahsanul Khaliqeen, the best of creators. This trimming and refining by Allah of the things of the universe is the most exquisite manifestation of beautiful proportion and balance. He has stated, he who has made everything which he has created into a balanced form. So if we don't see any balance, and we should also look into it and investigate it and see that is it this imbalance which we see, is it created by man or it was originally created by Allah? And we will see that In the human world, all imbalances are created by human beings who have unbridled minds, who, if they bring their mind under the guidance of the Quran, all that imbalance will turn into beauty and balance and proportion. Allah is He who has conferred the most balanced and proportionate, that is pristine form to everything. And it is from this respect that He has declared Himself the best of creators, i.e. the best creator among creators. And in fact, whatever we create as human beings, we created by using our intellectual potentials, and those are given to us free, and these are meant to be used. So whatever we do indirectly, actually Allah who Himself is doing it. And there are many verses in the Quran where Allah attributes human actions to Himself. Another thing over here we should keep in mind is that our aim should be that if we have decided to be on this path, then to become the best, that not to be distracted by what is going on around us, stick to the Quranic values, learn it and develop ourselves, and then we will see that how our latent potentials are coming out, and those will surprise us in many cases where we were never aware of that previously without the Quran. Other than the beauty of creation, there is another great point implicit in this. The fact that Allah has called Himself the best of creators means that He accepts the existence of other creators too. Although the difference between them and Allah as creators will be that Allah is Ahsanul Khaliqeen, while the other creators are of a lower status. It is obvious that in our known universe, only man can be a creator. That is, man possesses choice and intent, i.e. making ever new things from different available material resources. And he also works under permanent values and creates values. And creates means he creates values which suit him within those permanent values. And that is important for us as students of the Quran, that we should know our abilities and then know with excitement that what is this message to which Allah is inviting our attention. How to participate in the creative process of Allah in relation to this earthly life. Firstly, we need to keep in mind the purpose of our creation, that is 100% accountability, use it to our advantage, to create a new self within us, to become the companion of Allah, strive to understand and create the system of Deen. This point we have covered previously as well when we explained the law of requital under permanent values. This should not scare us or make us fearful. This accountability, even within the man-made system, we should take advantage of it. Because of this accountability, we become extremely conscientious as well as conscious of our own self and all the choices which we make in our life. And when we help our children to understand it, then we will see that those children will also become highly responsible individuals who will become an investment for parents for their future. Because if they start holding themselves accountable, the parents will have far less responsibility to monitor them and to worry about them. Because then they will know the values which are working in the universe to their advantage. And once they become motivated and see the way their self is developing, then we will have a great pleasure in watching these children to grow up as mu'mineen. Secondly, we need to come to comprehend the importance of our creation as part of the supreme program of Allah, and to never think that this universe has come into existence through a mere fluke and that it is meaningless. There is a lot into these lines. We can, in our own time, think about it. That whole of this universe is created to fulfill a certain program of Allah. And what is that program of Allah in relation to man? So that man lives his life on this planet free, totally free from fear and grief if he follows the book of Allah, and then goes on to the next stage, which is eternal, and keeps developing his self. And this creative program of Allah, it doesn't end here in this life. In this life, of course, we are participating in His program by using our own choice. Once we have made a choice, then we will enter into the next phase where we will have more opportunities to participate in that creative program further. because the self which is given to us has immense potentials and it will keep developing. Thirdly, come to grips with the formula of Iman plus Saleh deeds. How simple this formula is, and if we understand this and make others understand, and if we make our children understand this, then we will see that how this new life based on Iman and Saleh deeds will emerge out of them. And once we see that, because as parents, if we have already done this, then we will appreciate what it means to see these children growing up even within the man-made system, and they can become initial seeds for the future system of Deen. So it's a very pleasant challenge. It is not a challenge from which we should be scared of. Whatever education under the man-made system children are getting, these things do not impinge on that. In fact, they can utilize their abilities by becoming better students within the man-made system. This holds the key to success and prosperity in this life and in the continuation of life beyond our physical demise from planet Earth. The next point is the universe has come into existence through a defined scheme. Hence, every step of it is going towards that destination. Man, being part of this creative program, can become a participant in this process if he makes the choice to live life under the guidance of Wahi, i.e. the Quran. In fact, by becoming the companion of Allah using the Quranic guidance, we become relieved of a lot of uncertainties, even if there are plenty of uncertainties within the man-made system, because we know that by following this path and the signs which are showing up within our self-development, and of course helping within the family and others and being part of this group using the platform of Tolu Islam, we can provide strength to each other and also assured of the hereafter. We know that the path is correct and what we are doing is meeting the standards, criteria laid down by the Quran, and that helps to take away a lot of suspicions, a lot of conjectural part, and a lot of uncertainties of our life at cognitive level. Iman means to accept the truth of some matter with full contentment and total satisfaction of the intellect. Having conviction, having confidence and trust on someone, bow your head down, i.e. total obedience. And of course, this is in relation to Allah. Next is becoming creative in life. The first phase commences by bringing a change within our own self by examining our thoughts, choices, and actions in our day-to-day life. The Quran has asked us to become extremely conscious of what choices we make today, as these will have both short and long-term effects on ourselves as well as on our fellow human beings. For example, our own biological family, social circle, work colleagues, business, Tolu Islam. And of course, we can add more. Whatever choices and decisions we make, we need to pause and reflect and ask ourselves a question. And this is important, because whatever we do in life after coming on this path, we should be fully aware of it and know that what will be their consequences even within the man-made system. What is the optimum way to do this? So everything we do, we should try to not adopt any shortcut, as we had mentioned during our question and answer session previously, that no shortcuts. We should overcome that tendency, that proclivity to use shortcut and go for quick results. For example, if we have to travel, then all related aspects should be considered. For example, the aim of undertaking this journey, the destination, and what is desired to be accomplished. We should not take aimless journeys. The journeys should have some purpose behind it, even if it is a social function to enhance or make our relationships better, or to gain some kind of a happiness and joy. So all these things should be well defined in our mind. These should not be impulsive decisions. The distance and time duration, the route, unforeseen possibilities, following traffic rules, personal safety. We should keep in mind that I'm taking this journey, let's say by car. I must make sure that I reach the destination safely, because my life is important, because I'm doing certain useful things in this life and I'm an important person. And the safety of others, which is again very important. Any administrative aspects like water, food, tire pump, properly loading the car, and first aid kit. So we can add to it. What I mean is that everything from here on, we should be creating and making an effort that these are as meticulous as possible, because our life is important. Why our life is important? Because Allah has said so. In problem solving, never to panic or be impulsive. Unexpected issues do crop up in human societies, more so in man-made systems. And here we should train our children as well that this is how they should organize their life. And as parents, we should demonstrate it to them. Expect the unexpected in life, because we live under man-made systems, and then calmly think through the problem and be creative in solving the issue. Even under the system of Deen, there will be unexpected things, but over there, it will be far better organized with forethought and good planning. Many problems appear to be difficult initially, but once the facts become known, these can be resolved by becoming resourceful. Becoming creative does not mean that we have to discover something big. And sometimes people have this kind of an impression. But that is not what Quran is telling us. Quran is telling us Iman plus solid deeds, and under solid deeds we have to be creative to develop ourselves. So focus should be on developing ourselves and taking and always thinking that this life is not going to end with death. It is going beyond that. And secondly, I am dissatisfied with the man-made system, and I will keep working with those who are aiming for the system of Deen. Or invent some gadget, and that if we fail to do this in our earthly life, then somehow we will be rated as a failure. This is why Allah has made it very simple in terms of our design. Iman plus solid deeds. Be creative and bring out our latent potentials before our physical demise. But within the system of Deen, just like man-made system, there will be an extensive program of research and development in which young people will be trained to get training in critical thinking and to do research and development. Next slide is a few examples of the creative process in physical domain. Now, these are the natural resources which are made available to us. In fact, the whole planet is placed within our palms. And this is the beauty of the Quran. The Quran literally, at some stage, makes us look at the planet as if it is between our palms. It looks so small, and it looks so, should I say, it is within our grasp, and we can look at the mankind as a whole. And this is the beauty of it, as well as there is a plenty of resources there, all created for man. And that is something which we should appreciate on a continuous basis. And then he has given us this brain, which can help us to make decisions with I at the center of it. I plus human body plus brain, that is mind, choice and intent, free to create using these resources by using intellect and reasoning, which is also a resource. Unbridled intellect focused on physical aspects, and that is terrible for human beings who have been given such a powerful tool to use, that is the intellect and reasoning. And what he has done is he has used it very positively, of course, for example, over here in terms of transportation and skyscrapers. And all these are created from the material which was lying on the planet Earth. And then, of course, he also creates misery for others and destruction. And Quran says, لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. That surely Allah has sent his book towards you, in which is the secret of your own eminence. It is about you. And if you use your intellect, then you will be able to figure it out and get the maximum out of it and then continue beyond it. Next is word in 2025. Deen needs Momineen to create a better world. Can we accept this challenge? And there are human beings which the system has created. Allah had asked him to create a better world, and this is what he has created. And we have gone through these pictures previously as well. Help poor people. We create poor and then start having charities and feel very great about it. And then we have created religion by leaving the book of Allah, that is the Wahi of Allah. And one becomes superior, another becomes inferior, and then religion makes money out of it. And we create wars. And of course, we create these religious institutions. And we beautify them as if we are trying to please Allah. Without Quranic guidance, human beings first create a system which creates the poor and then set up charities to provide help. The Quran admonishes us not to do this because there is a tendency, proclivity within human beings of self-satisfaction. He feels guilty that he is creating problems of others, and when the children cry and their limbs are flying all over the place, then they come with their charities, they come with the UNO help, and then they feel good about it. Whereas Quran says, don't do it in the first place, and that is only possible through the Quran. Examples of creative acts by man in the physical domain. And it is important that the pictures, for example, in this presentation and otherwise from Google, we should train our children. We should let them know, let them compare with other children in the world and tell them that all the children in the world are born like them. They are also biologically come to this life, and then put before them the higher purpose of life. And these things gradually settle in the minds of children. And children should be encouraged to, right from the beginning, to be helpful towards others and to have positive thoughts about life. And of course, we should sit with them and go through some prominent verses on human accountability first, so that accountability gets into their heads right at a very early age of, let's say, up to about 12, 13, 14. Another important aspect of helping to turn the raw intellects of children into moment self, the Quran provides guidance. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la tulhikum amwalukum wala auladukum an zikrillah wa man yaf'al zalika faulaika humul khasirun. We have gone through this verse previously as well. O Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen, let not your wealth or your children divert you from the dhikr, that is the Quranic guidance. If any do this, the loss is their own. There is an important point noted over here, that Quran is not saying that you should look at your children as adversaries. What Quran is telling us is that look after your children, because they will also grow up and they will also have an hereafter. As you have a hereafter, so if you don't train your children, educate them into mu'mineen, help them, of course they have to make their own choices. But if you don't do that, then they will become the chains in your feet, because you are biologically related to them, and once you have come to the path of Sirat-e-Mustaqim, then they will become a hindrance, and you will be divided, you will be conflicted. So this is a family which has to work together, because at the basic level, there are biological families which have to become non-biological, that is through Iman, they have to come together and rise to a higher level. And we have gone through it previously as well. So this verse needs a lot of attention of ours from backwards to forward as well, that we do not want to be in loss. Zalika faulaika humul khasirun. And by saying zalik over here, Quran is saying it will always happen. And we can see how families are ruined because of children. Very rich families, their children turn out to be not so good, and as a result, they have an impact. Even in this man-made system, parents suffer. Creating a learning environment with continuous and persistent focus on the guidance of the Quran. And Quran says, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى وَأَخِيهِ أَن تَبَوَّأَ لِقَوْمِكُمَا بِمِصْرَ بُيُوتًا وَاجْعَلُوا بُيُوتَكُمْ قِبْلَةً وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We sent Wahi to Musa and his brother, provide a dwelling place for your people in Egypt. Make your dwellings into places of keeping to the guidance, that is, Quran has called it Qibla, and establish Salat and give glad tidings to Mu'mineen. This verse is of that era when Bani Israel were still under the control, subjugation of Pharaoh. And what Quran is telling is that if you can't create some place outside, openly in public place, make your own homes as centers of discussion, education, training. And in today's environment, we can see that we are using this platform of Zoom, which has become our Bait. That is, we have come together on this and we are using it for our own education, training, and our own self-development. And this is another very important point to which we should draw the attention of our children, because they will ask that you are telling us all these things about the system of Deen. Where is that system of Deen? And these verses help to enlighten them, to help them to come to the Quran. Coming to terms with acceptance of that aim which Allah has defined for us as Rabb, i.e. to acquire new life and then get busy with the self-strengthening process through solid deeds and by coming together for our own good as part of a Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen. In relation to children, we should also keep in mind that children are not a material product. That, of course, we feel happy by looking at them and the way they act and the way they play and the way they go about doing their business. And in life, we want them to succeed in the man-made system. But we should look beyond that, because if we invest in our own self and our own self-development, and then we pass on and help them to develop their self, then we can imagine the kind of pleasure parents will have in later part of life, because Quran says that whatever you are sowing now, you are going to reap it better. And for this, setting up resources for education, training, and self-development. And we should never tell our children that we have done this for you and done that for you, because that is a futile kind of argument with children. Children are to be valued because they have come to this world, of course biologically, but as human beings, they have their own intrinsic value, which is given to them by Allah, because Quran says, "Laqad karamna bani Adama." That karam is not given by us as parents, that karam is inherently given to them by Allah. So that is the way we should look at them, and within the context of the system of Deen, and then as companions of Allah. So all these things come out of it, and the more we reflect into it, we can figure out that how to educate, train, and help in self-development of children. Now we go to the next divine attribute, which is Al-Aleem. Allah has termed himself as Aleem. هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُم مَّا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا ثُمَّ اسْتَوَىٰ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَسَوَّاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. If we remember that we have covered ilm, that is knowledge, as a permanent value under our segment of the permanent values. It is He who has created for you all things that are on earth. Then He turned to the heaven and made them 7 firmaments, and of all things He has perfect knowledge. So that means there is a lot in this universe for each one of us, individually as well as collectively. Addressing man who possesses cognitive potentials, Allah as Aleem has invited him to come forward and reflect on every aspect of Allah's creation, i.e. physical as well as the world of his own and other psyche. So there is a far bigger world within our psyche, within our mind. And we should concentrate on that and see what is the length and breadth and vastness of that consciousness which we possess, free from Allah. We did nothing for that. We just got it biologically, and then we are living our life within the man-made system. And man-made system, of course, provides certain knowledge to us. But the knowledge which Quran is giving us, which of course we are seeking ourselves, and then we can utilize the man-made knowledge even more extensively. Right at the outset, man, that is Adam, is informed that his creation is according to a well-thought-out plan of Allah's as Al-Khaliq. And Quran has said, وَأَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. So the word over here, kullaha, explains it all, that there is nothing left out. There is nothing left out in this world. We are constrained by our own self-imposed limitations. And He provided knowledge to Adam of characterizing all things, endowed him with these latent potentials. Then Allah highlighted His 2 attributes, Innaka antal alimul hakeem. The Malaika said, truly you are Aleem and Hakeem. And we know that Hakeem means that whatever knowledge is provided, if we look at it critically and rationally, we can understand it. That what is the purpose for that and what is in it for us as mankind. Recognizing this attribute and referring to it appropriately is part of becoming a mu'min. And Quran says, Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka anta samiul alim. And this is noted as a supplication from the messenger Ibrahim. Supplication by the messenger Ibrahim, our Rabb, accept from us this service, for you are Sami and Alim. And Sami means who hears everything and is, of course, knowledgeable. And see, it is addressed to Rabb. So the Rububiyat, the factor of Rububiyat has come into it, that whatever we are doing over here as part of establishing this system of Rububiyat, it has to come from your side and from your guidance. Next is knowledge, that is ilm, and the root meaning. This is a repetition, but I thought to put it in just to remind ourselves. To know something in its reality, to recognize, to comprehend reality, to acquire conviction, to feel, to establish with certainty. Why to know reality? Because with reality, with the facts, with truth, we become stronger. No ambiguity remains. We are not in doubt. We are not in suspicion. We know that whatever is presented before us or whatever we have acquired is a fact. The one who perceives reality like this is called a scholar, alam. The plural of alim is ulama, i.e. those who possess profound and sure knowledge, and this is in relation to human beings. The basic meaning of this root is those symbols due to which that thing becomes differentiated from other things. So that is important, that if we do not know the facts between two events, then we have to make an effort and find out those facts, and then we will become alim. The Quran has called hearing, seeing, and the heart and intellect. And when we talk of heart or intellect, we are talking of both intellectual abilities as well as our emotive side, because emotive side is the one which provides us power to do it. It provides us motivation. Intellect is that side where we think at the things rationally. And once we have figured out rationally, then we create motivation within us, a desire within us, a need within us, and go and do it. And this is the case of dealing with the Quranic guidance as well. Once we have learned it, we have to go back and practice it and carry out these salih deeds in order to enhance the status of our own self, so that we become useful for the system of Deen. As the means for the acquisition of knowledge, both perceptual and conceptual knowledge are encompassed in this. From the aspect of the heart, which the Quran calls as fuad as well, feelings also become included. Since knowledge can only be called knowledge when it reaches the level of conviction, the Quran has declared wahi to be knowledge. And I have highlighted this. This is something we should come to grips with it, because once we come to grips with it, then we can explain to others, because others can always ask us that why are you emphasizing on that knowledge which is given in the Quran? And what are its benefits? Why can't we just have the knowledge of the man-made system? And we can tell them that this knowledge of the man-made system can get you through this life. But under the man-made system, all the problems you are facing, you can't solve those problems unless you come to the knowledge of the Quran, because it is from Him who is Al-Aleem. And He will help us to sort out all these problems if we bring our intellect under that. And then we will also have the benefit of developing ourselves, which can get the benefits of the hereafter. Wahi is that knowledge which cannot be obtained using human intellect and reasoning. It used to be revealed directly by Allah to the Anbiya. Hence, what is in the Quran is not the product of human intellect. And we should convince ourselves as well, if we haven't done it so far, that whatever is given in the Quran, we should sit quietly, closing our eyes and thinking, could I think like that, the way Quran is thinking, the way Quran makes me to think? Because if we could figure it out without the help of the Quran, then there was no need for Wahi, there was no need for the Quran. There was no need for the messengers. Conviction, that is Iman, develops through knowledge, and this is why the Quran repeatedly emphasizes the acquisition of knowledge about the outer world as well as the human psyche. This leads to coming to grips with the reality of human creation and its higher purpose for which the universe is created. Another pitfall which I have come across in some of our students is that they feel as if they already knew what is given in the Quran. But when I have questioned some of them, could you tell me other things which are given in the Quran, and you haven't come across them, then they are speechless. Because human beings sometimes, when they are going through the Quran, because it's all logical, very rational, they think as if they knew it before coming to the Quran. But if we ask them to reflect on their previous life, you will see that they will themselves become speechless, that the change which that knowledge should have brought in them, within them, was not there. So they did not know it. They have just a wrong perception as if they knew about it. So we should guard against that as well. And there is, of course, there are egoistic proclivities as well, which we have to overcome as we go through this education, training, and self-development procedure. Now the next one is a schematic knowledge about two different paths of life. Here is mankind, and as they are living their life, they look at the world through their worldview through non-Quranic lens. And we can see that there are all kinds of lenses through which human beings look at the world as they go through this. And they have their own desires, of course, which are unbridled, and they have their own proclivities and their own habits and their own pursuits. And this field of view is very limited. Life ends with death. That is the assumption on which they live their life. Knowledge is gained in relation to material success in the world. And we can figure it out as well. If we ask people who are not guided by the Quran that what is their definition of success, very simple test is, how are you? And if they're well off, they will start counting their own successes, and all those will be material successes. The undeveloped self will have no further evolution. It will remain static and will remain in the state in which it was just before the death of the body in this world. This inability to advance further with consciousness return to this self will cause regret and disappointment. And I have seen some of these videos and clips on YouTube of people who are nearing their end of life. And you will see that there are loads of these regrets and disappointments which exist over there, because all these regrets and disappointments return to us without the guidance of the Quran. Because what Quran does is, as we know, it clearly tells us that use this criteria to figure out what is your path in life and how you have done yourself. And as we are proceeding on this path, we are extremely conscious of what choices we are making today, and those choices ideally should be within the Quran so that we can reap the benefits of it in the later part of life. And same goes for the training of children, that if we invest in them using the Quran as a light, then we will see that they will turn out to be human beings of a very high stature with a very high eminence and loftiness. There will be a great pleasure associated with their character and with their conduct. Doesn't matter what they are doing in life. What matters is that in terms of their character, their self-development, their vision, their outlook, they will be totally transformed human beings as compared to others who are not guided by the Quran. And let's say there are a few who have gone on this path initially, and they have used the Quranic lens, worldview through Quranic lens, permanent values, plus divine attributes, including Iman and Saleh deeds. And over here, the field of view is far wider, because these people can't see all those things which these people can see after getting the guidance. The path of self is eternal and commences in the physical world. Time is measurable in the physical world. Time beyond death is eternal. I will continue traversing further phases of evolution after leaving behind all that which falls under my and mine. And we see that when we die, only I goes forward. All my body, my car, my house, my family, all remains behind, because they are all physical. So that in the hereafter, there will be a far wider field of view. Now let's go to the next slide. Knowledge is the path leading to gaining power. And this is another very important aspect. We have gone through it previously as well, but it's good to remind ourselves. The Quran has repeatedly invited us to gain knowledge, which is of two types. One is that knowledge which we gain through our own efforts, for which man-made systems have established institutions. This is important for cognitive development in order to succeed in the physical life, i.e., obtain those benefits for which we need this knowledge. The second kind of knowledge is that which is communicated through Wahi, that is the Quran, for the guidance of man to succeed in this life as well as to acquire that developed self which is needed for the life of the hereafter. So once we come to the Quran, then the first part will form part of it. It will be within that. Regarding this, it has even taught us a supplication which is وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي ilman, and say, O my Rabb, grant me knowledge. Just note that implicit in it is the Rububiyyat aspect of this knowledge. So over here what Quran is saying is that, O Rabb, that is, I want to know about the Rububiyyat and I need that knowledge, and it should keep expanding, it should keep increasing. And we have seen it that with every session, our knowledge, the horizon of our knowledge becomes wider and wider, and we are able to see far bigger things than what we had experienced previously. In another place, we are reminded, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُجَادِلُ فِي اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَلَا هُدًى وَلَا كِتَابٍ مُنِيرٍ. Yet there is among men such a one as disputes about Allah without knowledge. And we come across these people who try to argue without knowing about the Quran or having only a glimpse of it, without guidance and without a book of enlightenment. And obviously, if there is no light of the Quran, then how are they going to know about it? So that is another important point to which the Quran has provided guidance, that watch out for that. That you will come across people who will not be interested in the Quran, but for the sake of argument, they will argue with you. Guidance and knowledge are presented as a powerful combination in the light of the Quran for man to succeed here as well as in the hereafter. Because Allah has given us the cognitive potentials and He has given us the book to expand the horizon of these cognitive potentials so that we can use it for the good of mankind. Knowledge, this includes the law of requital. Since man makes choices and decisions in life which have consequences, hence he is provided with the attributes of intellect and reasoning so that he can analyze the outcome of every decision he makes. And this is the beauty of it, that Quran enables us to make correct decision every time. The law of requital guides man in this respect at an individual level as well as at a collective level. The Quran has guided us in this respect from the beginning to the end. For example, when it states that the purpose of the guidance is to help mu'mineen become muttaqeen. And we know becoming muttaqeen is to follow the shortest path of life called Sirat-e-Mustaqim and face minimum risks and dangers of that path, and to be aware of them as well. There will be dangers and risks within the man-made system, but Quran guides us through them and makes us aware that these will not harm you. These will not harm yourself if you stay on this path. And that does not mean physical harms. Physical harms will come because if there is a confrontation, there are battles, some will lose life as well, some will be wounded as well. But what Quran is saying is that focus on yourself and on the aim of establishing the system of Deen. It means we should gain knowledge in order to become fully aware of the pitfalls of life and to be able to avoid these in order to live a prosperous and successful life. All decision making should be based on adequate information and knowledge. وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ كُلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. Pursue not that of which you have no knowledge, for hearing, seeing, and cognition will be questioned. And over here, question means that these are being questioned. For example, if we do not gain knowledge and then try to succeed in life, we cannot. The jobs which will require knowledge, we will not get them. And even if we get them, we will not be able to do justice to them. So what Quran is saying is that you should use your potentials, that is cognitive potentials, and your hearing, your listening, your seeing, all these senses which are provided to you to gain knowledge and then develop conviction. It includes both aspects, i.e., do not pursue that for which we do not possess knowledge. Important. And if we wish to pursue something, then it must be based on knowledge to obtain the best. And this is another best aspect or precept for training of our children, educating them and training them. And wherever they might make up the things, we should guide them and tell them never make up the things, be truthful and come back without any consequences. You should always think through the problems and be truthful and honest to yourself and honest to others, because that is the way human self develops. It also means that absence of knowledge means we will fail to get the best out of our intellectual potentials. Hence, we will not obtain those benefits associated with the acquisition of knowledge. For example, sciences, self-development, system of Deen. And that is another important point, that even within the man-made system and its limitations, we should try to get best out of our mind, intellect, by reading, by watching, by doing good deeds, by interacting, by spreading the message, and of course, participating on this session and enhancing our knowledge. It should be taken as kind of training for our own self. Next slide is knowledge. It becomes a relative value under man-made systems. So this aspect we should keep in mind as well, because there are two aspects of it, one under the permanent values and one under the relative values. We all know the benefits of acquiring knowledge through the man-made systems, and this is why we wish to provide education and training to ourselves and to our children. However, since it is a relative value under these systems, hence even this is not made available to everyone, and this is a gross injustice. Then its standards vary from country to country. Why? Because the whole system is imbalanced and is created by human beings who are unjust when they do not follow the Quran. Understanding the gravity of not providing access to education to every child in the land in these systems is a gross injustice to them, which needs our profound attention as students of the Book of Allah. And we can relate to ourselves that if we have benefited from the man-made system because of being born in a better family or in a better country, and of course getting better opportunities, then what is the fault of those children who have not been given this opportunity? And then we should look at the Quran and tell ourselves the fault is of those who do not come to the Quran and make an effort to establish the system of Deen. Then this education, whatever is provided, does not cater for the life of the hereafter. Hence, the self which develops does not acquire those attributes which help to set out a higher aim in life for it and draw out those latent potentials which are related to the permanent values. And this is another very important point, and we can think through it in our own time what it means. Due to the availability of social media platforms, the opportunities for acquiring information and turning it into knowledge have become widely available. Of course, it is within the man-made system. This is also related to affordability and basic education and skills. To understand the word created by the unbridled human intellect, we need knowledge of the Quran. And Quran says, Kitabun fussilat ayatuhu Quranan Arbiyan liqawmi ya'lamun. And see ya'lamun again, people who acquire knowledge, who become Aleem. A book whereof the verses are explained in detail, a Quran in Arabic for people who have knowledge. And we have seen that so far with our exploration and research in the Quran, how much we have learned, how much we have expanded our own vision, our own consciousness, our breadth of outlook has become multiplied. Next is knowledge, converting information into knowledge. Information refers to raw data, facts, or details that are presented or received. Knowledge is the processed, organized, and interpreted form of information. Information has to be converted into knowledge. Knowledge is built upon information. Let us look at some examples from the Quran. In the case of the messenger Yusuf, Quran says, وَكَذَلِكَ يَجْتَبِيكَ رَبُّكَ وَيُعَلِّمُكَ مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ وَيُتِمُّ نِعْمَتَهُ عَلَيْكَ. And these are the words quoted from the messenger Yaqub to his son Yusuf. Thus will your Rabb choose you and teach you the interpretation of events and perfect his favor to you. And then the verse ends, inna rabbaka alimun hakeem. Surely your Rabb is full of knowledge and is Hakeem. So Rububiyat means that we should be Aleem as well as Hakeem. Questioning is part of acquiring knowledge, and in the next verse Quran says from Surah Yusuf, we have gone through it in detail and we can look at this presentation under Surah Yusuf. Laqad kana fi Yusufa wa ikhwatihi ayatun lis-sa'ilin. Verily in Yusuf and his brothers are signs for those who question and seek the truth. So it is interesting, Yusuf was born in a big family and his brothers tried to kill him. And among that family, Yusuf grew up as the messenger and then he established the system. It is possible that even in the worst of circumstances, with the help of the Quran, with the help of Wahi of Allah, we can come out and be extremely useful for the cause of Allah in this world. In relation to Yusuf again, وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ أَتَيْنَهُ حُكْمًا وَإِلْمًا وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And this is what happens under the guidance of Wahi. When Yusuf attained adulthood, we gave him power and knowledge. Thus do we reward those who are muhsineen, that is, who do the things which add beauty and balance to Allah's word. See the link here between knowledge, power, and doing balanced deeds. And the next slide is manifesting some aspects of this attribute, some verses. First is, in order to come to grips with Al-Haq, Quran says, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فَيَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّهُ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ. Those who accepted Iman know that it is Al-Haq from their Rabb. So knowing about the Quran and having Iman are intrinsically linked. That Al-Haq, we know Al-Haq means which is for constructive purposes. It will always produce, all those acts which produce constructive results will be Al-Haq, and those which do not, called Batil. In relation to Al-Haq and Batil, Quran says, وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَتَكْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And cover not Al-Haq with Batil, nor conceal Al-Haq knowingly. So that means we must have knowledge of Al-Haq and of Batil in the world in which we are living. And that is how we should train and educate and train our children as well. They should be able to differentiate between the two and also seek to know Al-Haq as well as they should seek to know Batil, so that they become muttaqi. To become aware of injustices in the world and those who promote it, Wallahu alimun biz-zalimin. And Allah is well acquainted with those who do injustice, that is, they are zalimin. And we know zulm means that if a thing is supposed to be at place A, and if we move it to place B, that means it is zulm. And the biggest zulm is that if human beings are meant to be respected, and they are meant to have their basic needs met, and they are meant to have a just system, they are meant to be provided education and training to develop their self, then that is zulm. And we can see that our world of 2025 is complete zulm. So that is something we should keep in mind, that to become Aleem, we should also know what kind of zulm is going in the world. And that is what Allah is pointing to in this verse. Whatever Allah says that I know it, Mu'mineen must know it. And that is the bottom line we should keep in mind and go away from today's presentation. Know about those who reject the book of Allah. وَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا مَعَهُمْ نَبَذَ فَرِيقٌ مِّنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِهِمْ كَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. And when there came to them a messenger from Allah confirming what was with them, a party of the people of the book threw away the book of Allah. And this is the state of the Muslims of today. They have thrown away the book of Allah behind their backs as if they did not know. And we know it, that when this Quran is presented to them, then they don't like it. They don't like the pure Quran. They want shirk. And we can see the state of the world in which we are living. Acceptance of Iman holds the key to the door of Deen as a system. Hence, Quran says, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا وَإِنْ تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّمَا هُمْ فِي شِقَاقٍ فَسَيَكْفِيكَهُمُ اللَّهُ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Very powerful verse stating haqq. If they accept Iman in the way that you have accepted Iman in this, that is the Quran, that is the messenger is saying, Allah is telling the messengers that tell them the way the messenger accepted Iman, you must accept Iman like that, otherwise there are no benefits to you. And this is something which we should carry away from today's presentation, that the Quran's Iman is very precise. There is no if and but in that. We can't add anything out of it or take away anything from it. This is an Iman which Quran says, وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ. You have to reject all the benefits associated with the system of Taghut, man-made system, fully dissatisfied. And then you come to the Quran, and then Quran will start making sense. It will open up its folds to you. They are indeed on the correct path, but if they turn back, it is they who are in schism. And this leads to dissonance within them. That is why we have sects. That is why there are parties. That is why people are following human deities or all kinds of deities in this world. They just take the name of Allah or God, which is meaningless. But their inner side is divided. And that is why Quran says, without coming to the Quran, your hearts will never, ever, ever be united. Even within the families will not be united. Children will be just taking to parents because they have some physical benefits attached by staying with those parents, or some emotional attachments. And this is not what Quran is asking us to do. Quran is asking us to grow out of these biological relationships and then see the pleasure of it. But once you get new life. But Allah will suffice for you as against them, and He is Sami and Aleem, because then we have to also become Sami and Aleem. We should also be thinking, have knowledge, and also hear. That is, all senses have to be used, becoming extremely alive by being the students of the Quran. Be aware about shaitan, that is our unbridled desires and emotions. And Quran says, إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالسُّوءِ وَالْفَحْشَاءِ وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. For He commands you what is evil and shameful, that you should say that of which you have no knowledge. Very self-explanatory verse. Thanks for your time and for sharing this today. Please feel free to share it with your contacts. You may like to subscribe for future talks related to the Quranic system of Deen.